Let's go down. Jerome's got some Q's, got some A's. Actually, there, got to change the counter on. So, Vikings take on the Lions tonight, but it got some questions, got some answers. Dive on in. Thank you everyone who submitted questions. I say this every time. We're going to get better at this. Andrew Keach, I've noticed a cultural shift this year when everything seems more chill and businesslike, like a quiet confidence. Is this because of the lowered expectations at the start of the season? Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold, or something else? And what's different about this year compared to previous years? I think it's all Kevin O'Connell, right? Doesn't matter about lowered expectations. I think that this is the culture that Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi adofo-mensah want with this team, where it really is about business, where, Kevin O'Connell, he saw both sides of the spectrum when he was a player. Like, he was drafted by the Patriots and Belichick, super chill, super businesslike. And then he played for Rex Ryan, who was the opposite of chill. I think that Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings, they have a lot of fun. Trust me, with all the turnover sellies and all that stuff, ain't quite Belichick New England, but the Vikings, they have confidence in that they're going to get things done. And I think that it starts with Kevin O'Connell, it trickles down to Darnold as the quarterback, most important position on the team, but also other team leaders like Jefferson, chill, Harrison, chill, Brian O'Neill, chill. They're all chill, except they're going to whoop your ass, right? And I think that's what's important about this team and why I think it has staying power. Mayfield, with Kwesi's affinity for high draft pedigree players that haven't quite lived up to their potential, what would you think about targeting cornerback Jeff Okudah this offseason if they don't go for DJ Reed or bring back Griffin Gilmore? He seems like a perfect mama can change him candidate at a position of need. I like Jeff Okudah. Right? Coming out of Ohio State, he was super, super cocky. Because I remember there was one presser, like a gaggle of media people around where they're talking about his coverages, certain coverages as a weakness. He's like, weakness? I was number 3 overall pick. Ridiculous. He got humbled real quick with the Lions, ended up with the Falcons, did some nice things. Remember, it was Jeff Okudah at the goal line who concussed Jaron Hall, and I remember this because Jaron Hall was running for a touchdown, and I had Jaron Hall as the first touchdown scorer at 22-1. You should never gamble, kids. Entertainment purposes only. But yeah, Okudah does have a solid skill set, and especially if Flores stays or Durante Jones stays and or is elevated to defensive coordinator, I think Okudah makes sense. I also like Christian Fulton, former second-round pick out of LSU. He's currently with the Chargers, formerly the Titans. Eric Stokes with the Packers, coming out of Georgia, former first-round pick. Hasn't quite worked out in Green Bay. I would much prefer bringing Stokes along than I know a lot of people talk about bringing Jair. No, never. Also, Benjamin St-Juste. Obviously, he wasn't a high pick, but coming out of the Gophers, tough, physical cornerback, currently with the Commies. I would love St-Juste all up in here. Aqua will. Seeing the 49ers on Monday take advantage of the play-action pass on Detroit's secondary and at times receivers were left wide open, do you think Kevin O'Connell does more of a balance of run and pass, or does he primarily focus on exposing the secondary of Detroit with the play-action? Well, O'Connell's talked about you got to run. Right, run to keep play action viable, run to wear down the other team's defense, run to drain some clock, run to give your defense a rest. And even if it's not you're ripping off 7, 8, 9 yards a chunk, just running the ball is important. So you don't get one-dimensional, so you don't show your hand to the defense. And yeah, I mean, the Lions were gashed by Brock Purdy, who, even though he threw 2 picks, didn't play overly well. And you did have Kittle going off for 8 for $112. And also, pretty Ricky Pearsall putting up $140 and a touchdown. So I just can't wait to see what Jefferson, Addison, Hockenson is going to do. So I think that's what the Vikings are going to do. They are going to run. Because I think that they want to extend drives, especially early in this game, quiet down that crowd and go from there. Roll the skull. Aside from Genty, who are other running backs you like in this class, say maybe a 3rd or 5th round range? And I know that people are poo-pooing on Genty because of what happened against Penn State. I mean, Genty's going to have a much improved offensive line in the NFL. I mean, Boise State, God love them, but it is what it is, right? And also, but what about Genty versus Oregon? Apparently that doesn't mean much. Man. But speaking of Oregon, I do like Quinshon Judkins from the Ohio State, formerly at Ole Miss. I thought he was obviously better at Ole Miss, a bit more of a timeshare here with the Buckeyes with Henderson. But Judkins, I like a lot. Omarion Hampton from UNC is great. I'm feeling like a bruising power back. Because if they're probably going to bring back Aaron Jones, hopefully going to bring back Cam Akers, and Ty Chandler is still going to be in his rookie contract, so you got your speed there. So I just want someone that 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, we don't go empty, or we don't go shotgun, or don't try a stupid sneak. It's like, hey, Can we pound out 3-4 yards when we need to? I want a running back like that. Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State is interesting. Scatabo from Arizona State. He's not like a power back per se, but he's unique, and he intrigues the hell out of me, right? So we'll see. I mean, there's going to be a plethora. Also, Caleb Johnson from Iowa, too, I like a lot. But there's going to be a plethora of running backs in this class. This is a really good running back class, man. Kikita, how aggressive do you think Kevin O'Connell's play calling will be? I get the feeling that he will try some trick plays in this game. Super aggro, right? It's the end of the season, most important regular season in NFL history, allegedly. And even though you got the playoffs coming up, I do think that O'Connell and Flores are going to go guns blazing. I think that 100% the Vikings are going to be aggressive here, especially given the fact that this is likely going to be a shootout and the Vikings offense probably needs a score every single drive. Go from there. Nico DeRochers, does the Lions' absence of Montgomery help the Vikings properly control the running game? Yes, certainly helps. And even though we've complained, like Gibbs obviously is the more talented of the two running backs, like Montgomery is a solid power back, as well as he's the type of running back that we just talked about, where he's going to keep the clock moving. He's going to move the chains. Solid receiver, solid pass protector as well. And having to defend both of them, even though obviously they're not in at the same time, they rotate out, but it's tough. I mean, you're getting hit by Montgomery, you're chasing around Gibbs, but with no Montgomery, I mean, it's going to be a bit more tough. Also, Gibbs later in games, I mean, isn't going to be as fresh as he usually is, splitting work with Montgomery, so that certainly is a factor. One Gilliman, how does Flores adjust to Goff's ability to read the Vikings defense? I think it's going to be a different kettle of fish than Week 7. I think, especially since this defense has really settled in, a lot of the young players have gotten more experience. I think that Flores is going to throw the kitchen sink at Goof. I think that there's going to be so many disguised coverages. I think that, well, Flores can't help himself blitzing, except I think they're going to be a little bit more judicious with it, given the strength of the Vikings or the Lions' offensive line. So when they blitz, they got to get home, and when they don't, I think that there's going to be a lot of nuance on the Vikings defense that's going to confuse Goof, at least to start the game. Boba Nagame, you have to pick one. Who are we keeping, Darnold or J.J. McCarthy? J.J. I love me some Sam Darnold, but if he only had to choose one, I'm picking J.J. And here's what's great: if you pick Darnold, you don't have to trade J.J. He's on his rookie deal, right? But you're losing out on draft capital. You could trade him later. That's what it comes down to. Ray Petty, who's your favorite player in the upcoming NFL draft? If you had to choose between Ashton Jeanty and Mason Graham, which one would you select and why? Specifically for the Vikings, Mason Graham. Except Graham's probably going to go top 7, top 8. I mean, Jeanty is like, I don't think that the Penn State performance colors Jeanty like poorly. I think that Jeanty is still going to be a stud. I think that he'll be a first-round pick. I think he'll be the first running back taken, rightfully so. But my personal favorite player in this draft, Deion Walker. The nose tackle from Kentucky, let's go. Although Mason Graham is really damn good. But I've already consigned that he's going to be way out of range for the Vikings unless Kwesi pulls off some magic. A.K. Ray, does J.J. McCarthy buying a match confirm he's not going anywhere? It just confirms that he's a Michigan man who is very well educated, takes care of his money, and is diversifying his bonds or his portfolio too. Nah, I think that it is a subtle shot across the bow, though. It's like, hey, this is my team. And McCarthy's been very good about supporting Darnold. It's clear that they're friends, supporting Kevin O'Connell. But I feel like McCarthy, maybe he's getting the feelings like, all right, maybe they bring Darnold back. I'm buying this house. I'm not leaving. I'm not effing leaving. Right. Samek RC, is it possible that even if the Vikings were to get the 5 seed, we could still see a home playoff game? Well, the 6 or 7, so Washington or the Packers would have to make it to the NFC title game. Because Vikings 5 seed, even though that's not going to happen, work of fiction. All right, so they beat the 4 seed, and it would have to be that one of the 6 or 7 seeds beat one of the 3 or 2 seeds, respectively. And then they would play the Lions. The Vikings would play whoever's left. And then if the 6 or 7 go from there, U.S. Bank Stadium would be hosting the NFC title game. But the Vikings are going to have the 1 seed anyway, so it doesn't matter. Travis Sheefen. Flores has never beaten Ben Johnson and his offense. Do you think that changes this weekend? Skull. Well, the 2 games last year when Flores was DC for the Vikings, Ben Johnson OC for the Lions, were with Nick Mullins. All right, so minor asterisk there. And then the first game. So the first game, yeah, Ben Johnson and his offense. I mean, that second quarter, 3 touchdowns, it is what it is, right? But Flores would have beaten Ben Johnson if Addison had run his correct route and cleared out, and Darnold didn't have to airmail that ball to Jefferson, Vikings pick up the first down, the win, right? Or if the Lions' jabroni kicker misses that game winner, I mean, Flores beats Ben Johnson. Nothing changes. Like nothing happened on the field between Ben Johnson and Flores that would have changed that outcome, but it happens. I do think that Flores is going to get after Ben Johnson. I think so. Zed Var-esque, are you going to bring Vike Flair for the playoffs? Woo! We'll see. In the game YouTube shorts, do you think we need to worry about Will Rocker? And do you think that we can play a better second quarter than last time against them? Second quarter, yes. And Riker, it's not a confidence thing. I mean, he's had ebbs and flows at Alabama. He's kicked in big-time games. It's not that. I do think that maybe there's something with the quad, but hopefully it's something that he works out. Anthony James, let's see. Does fourth down Dan go for it to elect a punt more than he's on the wrong side of the 50? No. I mean, we're going to get everything. And, Coach Matt Daniels has to be ready for everything. All right. Steve Schneider, should the Vikings play more man coverage or zone to slow down the Lions offense? I think that it was smart for them to play a lot of zone against Green Bay, but also you saw how Gilly sort of wore down throughout the game. Like it's man coverage is a young man's game, right? I do think that a lot of zone, a lot of mixing and matching does make sense. Employing some zone blitz from time to time against the Lions makes sense, and it's really like you tend to play a lot of zone when you have a mobile quarterback. Jahmyr Gibbs obviously isn't the quarterback, but he is the most dangerous player on the Lions. And you don't want to be stuck in man where you got your back turned and Gibbs gets the ball, whether it's a draw, whether it's a screen, whether it's just him in a pattern. Like I do think that the Vikings will lean more zone in this game. TC, Skull, 4 more wins. 1-0. 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Janky, if the defense shouldn't be worried about Goof because he's the most irrelevant quarterback in the NFL, what is the plan to stop Gibbs? He's extremely dangerous no matter the year. The running backs in Detroit seem to be our Achilles heel. Treat him like Marshall Faulk in the 2001 Super Bowl against the Patriots. He's the most important player. He gets shadowed. You talk about a quarterback getting shadowed a lot. Shadow the running back. Right. And also, I mean, Flores was on Belichick's staff. Obviously, he wasn't around in 2001. I think he's still in Boston College. But, I mean, he's been able to pick Bill's brain about that Super Bowl game plan, I'm sure, many, many times. Right. And every single time that Falk goes out into a pattern, you hit him. Right. Not dirty, obviously, but make contact. Like, let him know that you are there and he is going to be marked throughout the game. Right. That's what it comes down to. And I think that either Metellus, Pace would be fantastic at this. Just you follow 2-6. No matter where he goes, you're going to go. And you're going to make sure that he knows that you're there. Lastly, Stain Squad. If we lose this game, not even entertain this question. Not even entertain this question because it ain't happening. Anyways, that's it. That's at Q&A for this beautiful day. Baby. One time. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull. Production value.